The merging of politics and religion. Is this a diabolical union? I'm David Tomsick. Now, just the other day, I released a new video called Why. It was about why the American youth are leaving the church or just not going to church. Now, I used ChatGPT to give me what it believed were the reasons, and I gave it 3 questions. If you want to know what those questions are, go back and watch my video, Why. But I got a lot of comments. I got a lot of people personally calling me or talking to me about the video, young people. And just about every single one of them agreed with what I said, agreed with what ChatGPT concluded, that the American church is not interested in youth. They're interested in judgment, control, and power. Again, I always thought this, and it's more and more obvious to me. But today I wanted to pick up on that theme. This time I want to talk a little bit more about how this merger of faith and politics is damaging the American church, how it's damaging our relationships with everybody in this country, especially those who are poor or on the fringe. Oddly enough, it used to be that American Christians wanted to help the poor, cared about the poor. But now, through right-wing, a radical ideology, the poor are a problem, and it's the rich that should be taken care of. This is odd, really odd, and you would think impossible to some degree, but it's not. The tables have turned. Now, I found a guy named Ty Gibson. He's a religious writer, and he wrote this. What happens when faith stops guiding hearts and starts driving political power? Millions of believers are being pulled not by Scripture, but by a radical political agenda disguised as holy purpose, and if left unchecked, could redefine both church and state. Now, we know this is a fact, and we know this from local politics and national politics now. Religion played a huge role in the 2024 election, the election of Donald Trump, or the re-election of Donald Trump. Although Donald Trump technically has not confessed to be a Christian, he sided with them on many issues, and they joined him in a holy war against everybody else. And in many ways, a holy war against any money we spend to help other people. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. Stay tuned. By the way, if you like what we do here, please like, subscribe, and share. I appreciate it. He also went on to say, I'm a follower of Jesus, whose kingdom, he explicitly said, is not of this world, John 18:36. His politics are not of this world's common order, that is. In fact, even a casual reading of the Gospels makes it abundantly evident that the kingdom of Jesus isn't a little different or even a lot different than the politics of the world, but rather radically different. What Jesus offers is diametrically opposed to every political system this world has to offer. Interesting, right? Now, what you'll hear, the geniuses on the other side here, and I say the other side because I'm on the side of Jesus, okay? I'm on the side of Jesus. But to those oppose the words of Jesus, and many Christians do, they do. I'll explain. Those that are opposed somehow believe that Jesus really would have been a Republican if he was here today, that he would have had to join the right wing of the Republican Party because they closely align with his teachings. Well, they don't, but remember, we're dealing with a radical ideology here. We're dealing with a radical ideology that stems back 100 years, and I'm sure longer. And I've talked about this in many of my other videos, how the early right-wing people, the Jerry Falwells, the Pat Robertsons, and people that you may not even heard of, that kind of molded the right-wing agenda for 70 years at least, have been planning for this day, have been planning the time when they will take over. As we've always talked about, the 7 mountain mandate. I've talked about that. The 7 mountains of our society, government, Hollywood, entertainment, news, education, all those things that we use in this country to build the foundation of our society, they want to take over every one of those mountains. Christians do. Right-wing radical Christians do. So they can tell you what to do. They'll judge. Remember, on that video the other day, 1 finger points forward, 3 fingers point back, but not to them. To them, there's no fingers here. There's just 1 finger, the finger of God that they're holding. and they push it to where they want it to go. You, evil, you. It's crazy, isn't it? Now, I found another guy that was at a Christian conference, and he was kind of disgusted from what he heard. They were talking about Judeo-Christian values. But then he says, I'm pretty sure some of these views should be challenged. For example, it was sickening to hear applause when one speaker spoke of the dismantling of USAID. I don't know how the immediate loss of urgent, vital support to the world's most destitute and vulnerable people could in any way be celebrated as a fundamental Judeo-Christian value. A respect for Christian values that doesn't include protecting the vulnerable, feeding the hungry, and speaking for those who can't speak for themselves, for the rights of all who are destitute, Proverbs 31:8, is a travesty of Christian faith. Okay, well, didn't we just see Republican right-wing senators praying in a circle, holding each other like manly men praying? And they were grateful that God helped them pass the big, beautiful bill that was going to pretty much destroy the aid to millions of pretty much destitute Americans, poor Americans, homeless Americans, Americans without health care. Where does this come from? It's an abomination. I'm ashamed of these people. And right now, I'm ashamed of this country and its president. Okay, the guy at this conference goes on to say this. The problem was that Christian values was used as a generic umbrella term, allowing each speaker and delegate to read into it what they wanted. With only a couple of exceptions, the meaning was not unpacked or made explicit. At first, I assumed that this was an innocent omission, but I grew to wonder if it was actually the point. And what he's saying here is that the point is that we are now the judge and jury of everything. We have set the standard. We're on the high ground as Christians, and we now can determine who's right and who's wrong, what things we should support and what things we shouldn't. Supporting poor people, that's not in the Constitution. Technically, it's not. Technically, there's no line item that says help the poor and needy and the destitute and the homeless. But it should be a given in our world, shouldn't it? It should be. First of all, the phrase, we the people, I pulled this up. See, too many people think the government is separate from us. You see, it really is, because we've been told that. You've got a president that has separated the government from us. He's a dictator. So we are disconnected from it. They will do what they think's right. Rich people need tax cuts. Well, they should do it. Poor people don't need anything. Okay, let's do that. Let's not give them any help, which is what the Republican Party is doing. So I went in and I found this. The phrase, we the people, in the U.S. Constitution signifies that the ultimate source of government power resides with the citizens of the United States, not with the government itself. It asserts that the government is established by and exists to serve the people. The foundational principle emphasizes that the government is accountable to the people and that its legitimacy comes from their consent. So here's my point here. We the people, we're the people, we're the government. We have fellow people that are poor, that are homeless, that don't have health care. Whether they're working or not, they don't have health care. We, the people, are deciding. We should decide, yes, they should get help. And there's a small portion of Americans that think they shouldn't. These are the right-wing conservative people. For some reason, they believe that only rich people deserve everything and everybody else should be left because they're not working. They're not pulling themselves up by their bootstraps. Listen, that's baloney. Here's the phrase, pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. I don't think it means what they think it means. The phrase, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, originated shortly before the turn of the 20th century. It's attributed to the late 1800s physics book that contained the example question, why cannot a man lift himself by pulling up on his bootstraps? So it became a colloquial phrase referring to socio-economic advancement shortly thereafter. It was meant to be sarcastic, but it became synonymous with people who don't want to work. They don't want to pull themselves up by their bootstraps, even though technically it's impossible to do. Without help, it's impossible to do. And that's the key, without help. Now, people always argue with me about poor people. They all know somebody. I know somebody that got help and they didn't need the money. I know somebody got $1,000 a month and they didn't need the money. Okay, I can tell you, I know 10 times that number who need the help. I know because I go out there. I talk to people. People send me information from around the country about people that are just destitute. You've not been in places that are poor. You think because you go to a city and hand out some cupcakes or water in a city that you're helping homeless people. Those people are rich compared to the people who are destitute in this country. Poor, poverty. Let's cut them off. Let's cut them all off because somebody is getting something that they may not need. So I worked for the food bank here in Washington County for 10 years, and I can tell you, sometimes you don't know. People pull up in Cadillacs to get food, and then you investigate and find out they're pretty much dirt poor. They need the food. People who are middle class will come in, they have jobs, and they needed food because things didn't go well. Bills, doctor bills, emergency payments, their hot water tank blew up, and they didn't have the money, the savings to pay for it. Now, several Republican congressmen have come under fire for quoting the Bible as justification for cutting nutritional assistance to America's poor. You know, this was the big, beautiful bill that so many of you love. You know those. You know who you are. You love it. I hope you feel good. You should feel really good. Let's talk about Joe Biden again. Let's talk about Kamala Harris. People still talk about Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. 10 years from now, it's Joe Biden's fault. I'm constipated. It's Joe Biden's fault. Just ridiculous statements made by people trying to defend a fascist. That's what it is. Let's not look too closely at our guy now. Let's go back and talk about Joe Biden's problems and mistakes, or Kamala Harris's mistakes, or George Washington's mistakes. How far can we go back? Now, here's what I found out. Congress has moved to slash more than $4 billion from the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP. I believe that'll take place in 2026. That's better known as food stamps. In the face of criticism, Republican Stephen Fincher, Republican of Tennessee, and Kevin Cranner, Republican of North Dakota, quoted a verse from 2 Thessalonians. For even when we were you, we gave you this command. Anyone unwilling to work should not eat. Now, if you look at this and you kind of do a little investigation, and there's a couple that already did this for me, many have pointed out that this quote is completely out of context, as most of the stuff these right-wing people use from Scripture. Its author was referring to ancient Christians who had stopped working in anticipation of Jesus' second coming. They also have pointed out to the irony of using a Bible quote when, as Reverend Jennifer Butler puts it, from cover to cover, the Bible is 100% clear that God requires us to take care of our brothers and sisters in poverty. And we are the government. Now, if you just want to say, I don't want to take care of them, don't use Scripture to back yourself up. Just say, we don't want to take care of them. We don't want to spend the money, because money's important. The money people, I know quite a few of them. It's all about money. They'll talk about how successful they are. They'll talk about their money, their guns they bought, their sidecar vet they bought on the side for their fantasy of driving it in the summer, the top down. They've got a vet. Meanwhile, people are homeless. Meanwhile, they voted for a guy that would take health care away from children and people who have no health care. And what is also interesting here is that these people back in the day, the ancient Christians, as they talked here, waiting for Jesus' second coming. Who's doing that today? People are waiting every day. Wait a minute now. Let's not worry about poor people. People, where's your heart? I saw a person in Pittsburgh. I was just there the other day. Drove through and I was at a stop sign. Across the street, I saw a woman and she had a sign, I'm homeless, I need some help. Now, I know people that go out into the city and they hand out sandwiches and they, preach the gospel a little. People have these little systems they put in place to go out and help the poor. These are people from churches. And that's nice. I give them kudos. They're not solving the problem. See, if they think that we can eliminate government's help and let these people go out and do it, you're wrong. It can't happen that way. These people cannot reach the number of people the U.S. government can reach, that we, the people, can reach through our surrogate, the U.S. government. I'm not worried about my tax money going to poor people. I give as much money as I can to those people that are serving homeless people, helping people. And I don't mind that my government tax dollars go to pay for somebody's health care. I know what it's like to be without health care. I know what it costs to get service. I know what it costs for radiation treatments. I had to go through those. Believe me, I know. And it breaks my heart. And I saw this woman there with a sign, homeless. To the average person, they're saying, well, why don't she go get a job? Listen, if you just saw this woman, this is in the city. Where's she going to work? See, people go down the list. They say, well, they can sweep floors somewhere. They can work at McDonald's. I hate to tell you this. Most people that are in these situations will not be able to work. I've seen it. And where are they going to work? You're in some rural area of Texas or in the Appalachian Mountains or in the mountains in the Northeast or the Midwest, and you live in poverty. There's nowhere to work. There's nowhere you're going to go. There's no one there to help you. These cuts that the government's going to make, that the Trump administration is going to make, is going to put rural hospitals out of business. Rural hospitals. These people have one hospital, a small hospital, not the fancy ones like we have here in Pittsburgh. You know, the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center, UPMC. We don't have those fancy hospitals in poor areas, and those are going to close. You feel good about it? Rich people, money people, middle-class, right-wing people. You feel good about it, don't you? Just tell me again. Tell me again how you know somebody, how you saw this guy do this and this person do that, and they cheated the government on this and they cheated the government on that. Tell me more about it. I'll drag your rear end to the poverty areas of this country. There's places that don't even have sewage. One place was in Alabama, rated by the United Nations as one of the poorest places on earth. In America. Feel good about yourself, right-wingers? They didn't have sewage. You know where their sewage went? Into the stream behind their houses, because the city never connected their sewage lines to the city system. It was a white city. Why would they worry about the poor black people on the other side? Go get a job. Go get a job. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Feel good. Feel good to vote for Donald Trump. Feel good to vote for basically a bigot, a racist, a guy that really only cares about billionaires and just proved it with his big, beautiful bill. You don't think there's an issue, there's something wrong with you. If you don't think throwing 12 million people, up to 12 million people that we know of, off of health care and prayed in front of God that we did a great job, if you don't think that there's going to be some judgment on these people, on you, while you're pointing your finger at everybody else because you're gay and you're transgender and you're this and you're that, you're pointing, and by the way, you voted for this to happen and you're happy with it. Feel good? How's that feel? I hope it feels good. Well, Jesus would tell them to go to work. He says, if you don't work, you're not going to get any food. Okay. Can you work? People working can't afford to buy food. Did you notice the Trump administration's war on inflation, food inflation, is already worsening? It's going up. And you expect these people to go work these part-time jobs for $9 an hour, $12 an hour, and they're going to buy food and they're going to be okay. Where'd you grow up? Money men, money women. Well, you take your money and you keep your money. You keep it. Take it. Keep it. Feel good about it. Take your vet out and drive it around. Feel good about yourself because you worked. You're special. You've been blessed, been shown favor on. People use that. They showed favor on them. How do you really know that? Maybe it's just that you stepped on some people on the way that you didn't even know about. Obviously, you're willing to step on poor people, right? Let's step on poor people, homeless people. As you can see, this is something that touches my heart. And unless you've actually seen poverty, poor, you see what it's like trying to get health care for a child. Till you do that every day, not just temporarily. I lost my job for 4 months and I didn't have health care. How about forever? How about forever? So you got a little extra money from food stamps, and you maybe not needed it, but it was nice to have that little extra money because right now you have nothing. Good. Keep that money. Keep it. I'm not worried about it. If you're worried about it, maybe you should grow up a little bit. Maybe you should stop listening to right-wing crazies. And maybe you should listen to the heart of Jesus. Say, listen, don't worry about that. Just take care of people. Just keep doing it. Keep going out. He kept sending the apostles out. Keep going out. Well, they had this. I don't care. Keep going out. Don't worry about it. Don't get caught up in the politics of the day, but we did. And yes, the merging of religion and politics is dangerous, and it's going to destroy this country. Already is. There will be a day of reckoning. I don't know when that day will be, but there will be a day of reckoning. Be on the right side of history. That's all the time I have. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share my videos. Again, I want to let you know we do have a sister channel, Nights Around the Fire. It's with me, Ashley Hamilton, and Sue Taylor. We investigate mysteries, myths, and legends. I know you'd love the channel. Go over. I have a link in the description box. Join us. Join us here. Spread the word. And again, love your neighbor as yourself. Thanks for watching. See you next time.